Well, guys, this morning it is being reported over on the subreddit UK News that the government has responded to the Online Safety Act petition. This, of course, follows the news that we were talking about yesterday regarding these new regulations in the UK regarding internet use, requiring people to submit things such as facial scans, driver's license, etc., all under the guise of protecting the children. And already we are seeing this being weaponized by the government in the UK, as they have admitted to creating this new, as they call it, elite police task force to monitor people's social media activities, looking for anything that they may deem as harmful content or a problematic comment that these people will then go after you for. And people made a petition trying to fight back against this stuff. The petition getting hundreds of thousands of signatures, but the government is not backing down. That takes us over to their response. Let's take a look. We can see the petition itself here titled Repeal the Online Safety Act, saying we want the government to repeal the Online Safety Act, and as mentioned, collecting specifically 362,742. It just shot up there mid-recording, as you can see. Let's just go with almost 363,000 signatures as of recording, and clearly moving on up as I speak. Going on, they say Parliament will consider this for a debate. Parliament considers all petitions that get more than 100,000 signatures for a debate, waiting for 3 days for a debate date. Government responded. This response was given on July 28th, 2025. The quote reading, the government is working with Ofcom, that's the Office of Communications, I believe, in the UK, part of their government, saying to ensure that online in-scope services are subject to robust but proportionate regulation through the effective implementation of the Online Safety Act 2023. We'll go to the full response now. So recording this in post-production now after I already read the full statement, which is coming up for anyone who wants to hear it. But the TLDR, and believe me, there is a need for a TLDR because the full statement they made, man, as you'll see in a second if you watch the rest of this video, it's just full of so much word bloat, political word vomit. It's just so typical, really. The exact sort of thing you would expect from a bunch of corrupt politicians, to be quite frank. But the long and short of it, the TLDR is that the government is basically saying, lol, nice try, we're going to do this anyways. They're still moving ahead with all these regulations. And what, in my opinion, is complete government overreach and just abuse of power. Now, I'm going to do something out of character. I don't normally say this, in the middle of a video, but please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoy my coverage, because as mentioned, a lot of people will probably tune out as we go through the statement, and that's completely understandable. Like I said, it's just so much word fluff and whatnot, but for anyone curious to see what the full statement is, what the government of UK has to say in response to this petition, I present you the rest of the video. Here you go. I would like to thank all those who signed the petition. It is the right that the regulatory regime for in-scope online services takes a proportionate approach, balancing the protection of users from online harm with the ability for low-risk services to operate effectively and provide benefits to users. The government has no plans to repeal the Online Safety Act and is working closely with Ofcom to implement the act as quickly and effectively as possible to enable UK users to benefit from its protections. Oh yeah, what a benefit this is, giving the government a bunch of power that they absolutely are not going to abuse at all. Proportionately is a core principle of the Act and is built into its duties. As a regulator for the online safety regime, Ofcom must consider the size and risk level of different types and kinds of services when recommending steps providers can take to comply with requirements. Duties in the Communications Act 2003 require Ofcom to act with proportionality and target action only when it's needed. Some duties apply to all user-to-user and search services in scope of the Act. This includes risk assessment, including determining if children are likely to access the service and, if so, assessing the risk of harm to children. While many services carry low risks of harm, the risk assessment duties are key to ensuring that risky services of all sizes do not slip through the net of regulation. For example, the government is very concerned about small platforms that host harmful content, such as forums dedicated to encouraging ending yourself or hurting yourself. Exempting small services from the Act would mean that services like these forums would not be subject to the Act's enforcement powers. Even forums that might seem harmless carry potential risks, such as where adults come into contact with child users. Once providers have carried out their duties to conduct risk assessments, they must protect the users of their service from the identified risk of harm. Ofcom's illegal content codes of practice set out recommended measures to help providers comply with these obligations, measures that are tailored in relation to both size and risk. If a provider's risk assessment accurately determines that the risks faced by users are low across all harms, Ofcom's codes specify that they only need some basic measures, including easy to find, understandable terms and conditions, a complaints tool that allows users to report illegal material when they see it, backed up by a process to deal with those complaints, the ability to review content and take it down if it's illegal, a specific individual responsible for compliance, who Ofcom can contact if needed. Where a children's access assessment indicates a platform is likely to be accessed by children, a subsequent risk assessment must be conducted to identify measures for mitigating risks. Like the codes of practice on illegal content, Ofcom's recently issued child safety codes also tailor recommendations based on risk level. For example, highly effective age assurance is recommended for services likely accessed by children that do not already prohibit and remove harmful content, such as adult material and promoting self-harm. Providers of services likely to be accessed by UK children were required to complete the assessment, which Ofcom may request by July 24th. On July 8th, Ofcom CO wrote to the Secretary of State for Science, Innovation, and Technology, noting Ofcom's responsibility for regulating a wide range of highly diverse services, including those run by businesses, but also charities, community, and voluntary groups, individuals, and many services that have not been regulated before. The letter notes that the Act's aim is not to penalize small, low-risk services trying to comply in good faith. Ofcom and the government recognize that many small services are dynamic small businesses supporting innovation and offer significant value to their communities. Ofcom will take a sensible approach to enforcement with smaller services that present low risk to UK users, only taking action where it is proportionate and appropriate, and will focus on cases where the risk and impact of harm is highest. Ofcom has developed an extensive program of work designed to support a smoother journey to compliance, particularly for smaller firms. This has been underpinned by interviews, workshops, and research with a diverse range of online services to ensure the tools meet the needs of different types of services. Ofcom's letter notes its Guide for Services, Guidance, and Tools Hub, and its participation in events run by other organizations and networks, including those for people running small services, as well as its commitment to review and improve materials and tools to help support services to create a safer life online. The government will continue to work with Ofcom towards the full implementation of the Online Safety Act 2023, including monitoring, proportionate implementation. Department for Science, Innovation, and Technology. Holy smokes, what a bunch of political slop. Whole bunch of fluff and trying to make themselves sound like they're doing such a great job. What a joke, man. Some of the top responses on UK news saying we need to keep it going and get the petition up into the millions. Screw off Ofcom, screw off Labour. Another user saying the response won't change regardless, with that other person saying doesn't matter. It's important to show we don't support this draconian law. The bigger, the better. Another top comment saying, naturally, the powers that be have said no. We all knew they would, but it's still intensely disappointing. And showing a quote from the full statement that we read. They're never going to say we made a ghastly mistake. Nobody told us about VPNs. Similarly, another top comment says, we'll get a VPN ban next, or the same verification to use one. Response saying, we're currently watching a government destroy itself politically by trying to stifle access to information under the guise of think of the children. Crazy times. And a response to them saying, nah, all of the three main political parties are funded by the same billionaire oligarchy, which all have the same corporate authoritarian goals as the Americans and Russians. Labor is just gently breaking us in for reform, for when reform comes along and truly screws us. Outlet thetab.com would talk about how people are trying to get around this stuff. Obviously, one of those ways is using a VPN, but there is other stuff as well. For example, people are using Norman Reedus's face from Death Stranding. This is one I actually found out about later than a lot of you guys in the comments, because I saw people in my video yesterday talking about this, and I was like, what are you guys talking about? And I looked it up, and yeah, it's freaking hilarious. But I guess it's more than that too. People are using Sims characters. I don't know what this video has to do with the Sims character thing, but sure, I guess. Maybe I need to refresh the page or something. Smaller sites can fall through the cracks. Ofcom has issued a response to the loopholes. Oh, let's check this out. From today, platforms that allow adult content and harmful content must use age checks to protect children online. Major tech platforms have already committed to introducing these. Companies that fail to comply can expect enforcement action. All right. And they say, while the governing body is yet to comment on some of the more creative solutions, it did respond to people using VPNs as a loophole for the Online Safety Act, saying, our research shows that these are not people that are out to find adult content. It's being served up to them in their feeds. And we think that these measures are going to have a really big impact in terms of dealing with that particular problem. There will be teenagers, dedicated teenagers, who want to find their way to adult material in the same way as people find ways to buy alcohol under 18. They'll use VPNs. And actually, I think that's a really important reflection here. It's not just us in terms of making life safer online. Parents having a view in terms of whether their kids can have a VPN and using parental controls and having conversations feels a really important part of the solution. Well, this whole issue from the get-go should be more of a parental issue and not the government stepping in and like trying to seize power and control over people and invade privacy. But of course, they're not going to acknowledge that, though. No, on top of us doing all this, we also want parents to take VPNs away and whatnot. And then eventually down the line, they probably come for everyone's VPNs. Oh, you're an adult with a VPN? Well, we can't have that either. You know, there's a lot of harmful content on the internet. We wouldn't want you to stumble upon that stuff, so we're just going to take control of your life and invade everything you do. You know, it's totally reasonable, though. Don't worry about it. Guess that's where we're at, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I already mentioned, if you enjoyed my coverage, there's ways to show your appreciation. I appreciate you, too. I'll just leave it at that. What a freaking mess. I'll see you guys in the comments and in the next one.